Ta-da!
Hello gamers, Matthew here from Grey Army Gaming in lovely Lund, Sweden. For this episode of Magical Feedback, we will be looking at part 2 of House Rules. Now it's been a while since we had part 1, so in case you don't remember, here was the challenge that we threw out to the viewers.
Do you have any rules that you play that do not exist in the Warhammer rulebook? Rules that maybe make things more interesting? Rules that maybe make the gameplay more friendly and more cordial?
Now in response to this challenge, we had some good feedback. And what I would like to do here is to focus on 3 specific rules that I think are the best for our wargaming. Alright guys, the first rule we have here is from Nick from IdicBeer40K, and he suggests a really cool rule about using different features for your terrain. Now if you play Warhammer Fantasy 8th edition, you know that there are forests that have different features, and when you go into a mysterious forest you roll for that. But Nick's idea is this: why not have mysterious features or special features for each piece of terrain or special pieces of terrain? So I thought we could illustrate his point, the point he gives me about a bridge, by using this plankway between 2 floors of 2 buildings. We can have special rules about this. Now let's imagine that this walkway, this bridge, is really rickety and old. As you can tell, it looks super old and rickety. So let's say we have our figurines and they come to this bridge and they want to cross it. Well, let's start out with a Skaven. We throw one of our Skaven guys on there. Now the idea here is that because it's rickety, it could fall down at any moment. If you have one guy on there, let's roll a d6, and then on a 6+, the bridge will break and he will fall and take damage. So he is fine. Now you can imagine if you keep throwing more and more Skaven on, for each Skaven the roll gets 1 worse. So now we have 2 guys on there. When the second guy enters, we roll, and on a 5+, the bridge breaks. Well, let's keep adding Skaven. These guys want to keep going. There's a 4+, and a 3+, and let's say we have our last guy come on. And there is a 2+. Let's see if we roll this out now. And look at that. So when the last guy comes on, the bridge breaks, and then you can figure out how much damage these guys take. If we put 6 guys on, that would be that the bridge would fall. So we know now that you can't cross the bridge with 6 guys, so only 5 at a time. And that kind of keeps the game really interesting and fun, especially maybe in Mordheim games. Now these are sort of human-sized figurines. You could have even a special rule with an ogre. Let's say you have 1 ogre on the bridge. Now an ogre is heavier than most models, bigger than most models, so we will say that the ogre now counts as 2 models. So if 1 ogre tries to cross this rickety bridge, we would say that the bridge will collapse on a 5+. And look at that, a 6, so he will break the bridge as he walks out onto it, crashing down and taking some damage. Now that's just one example of how you could take a normal rickety bridge and turn it into a really exciting piece of terrain that has different rules for it, and that can really change the outcome of a game. Now Nick has some other good ideas, and I would encourage you, if you're interested, to come up with your own terrain rules and agree on those rules with your opponents before you begin your games, and then go ahead and add those to your games to make them a bit more interesting and a bit more exciting. Second is pre-measuring. Now I had a viewer who wrote me and said, one of the things that I don't like about Fantasy 8th edition is you can pre-measure everything. This is one of the great things that he thought that was from 6th edition, is that you really have to make guesses and you have to be able to know your distances when you play. So he suggests, here's what you do. When you play your Fantasy 8th edition, you just throw out the pre-measuring option, and no more chances to measure everything out nice and neatly before you go. And he thinks this makes the game a lot more exciting. And I can see how this could happen. Let's take a look at this right here. Let's say the Skaven have a turn and they want to charge here. Well, how far is this? It's really hard to say. I don't know exactly. Does it look like a charge the Skaven could make? Well, I think so. So we're going to go ahead and try it. Let's go ahead and roll our 2d6 plus their 6-inch move, and that will give us 8 plus 6 would be a total of 14 inches. Once we have declared that and rolled it out, then we go ahead and put our 14-inch down, and what do you know it, we are just in. So this was just under 14 inches, so that would be successful. Now, pre-measuring doesn't need to simply apply to charges. It can apply to shooting war machines. It can apply to spells, to everything that you play in Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition. Just get rid of the pre-measuring option and carry on with everything as normal. It'll make your games a bit more unpredictable and a bit more, I guess, realistic in the sense that you don't know exactly how far away your troops are from one another. So that's a good rule suggestion from one of our viewers, is get rid of pre-measuring. Third and finally, we had a viewer who made a good suggestion about specifically war machines. And the idea here is that in 8th edition, war machines are way OP. They're so overpowered that you can use them basically to wipe out almost anything you want on your first shooting phase. And because of this, they introduced a new rule, a house rule that they use, which is you roll your normal dice for your hit and scatter dice, your directional die here, and let's say we roll them out and we have a direct hit like we do here. Any direct hits that are rolled the first turn have to be re-rolled, and what you would see here then is that would be off and take us in that direction. So that makes it actually really difficult for these war machines to have any success. Maybe that makes the war machines a little too expensive for what they're used for, but what it does do apparently is it gets rid of the idea you can basically snipe massive characters, or you can snipe other war machines on the first turn and basically just take them out of play. So there you go, another house rule that makes things more difficult for war machines. In this case we have a scrap launcher, but you can imagine all kinds of different war machines, rock lobbers and other things like that. And even perhaps you could add rules like this to cannons to make it more difficult to hit with them. So there you go, folks, 3 suggestions for some good house rules that you can use in your Warhammer Fantasy 8th Edition games or any other war game that you play. Well, there you have it, folks, part 2 of our series on magical feedback regarding house rules. I hope you can take some of these house rules that I received from viewers and put them into practice in your own wargaming. May it make your games much more entertaining and much more exciting. Thank you for joining us here today at Grey Army Gaming, where Grey can always play.
Oh no, the bridge collapsed!